Yeah, it's like he's getting worse.
I mean, Gyark shows up, and then like I got a call for Craig a second time.
I know. I just wish Georg would actually do anything. Like anything at all. Blink an eye, wave a hand, smile, you know?
He's just
Something.
just sitting there, staring menacingly.
So Bruce got a hold of me the other day. He's pissed that I haven't edited in his song outro.
Who are you?
Who, me?
Yeah,
I I'm Jay. Hi guys.
and
Apparently we
I'm
apparently we
Christopher. You
yeah,
forgot.
I didn't forget. I just ignore it because I don't care if people know who I am.
You're supposed to introduce yourself first and then bring up Bruce.
Yeah, look, if anybody is starting on episode 70 or whatever we're on, they need to stop this episode right now, go back and start on an earlier episode.
Just listen to the Grumpy Guest episodes. We've had a lot of great guests. Just listen to all those and then just pick up right where we're talking about.
Sure,
Or go to
that works.
our YouTube channel where I have all the other old podcasts as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my plug. I'm done.
Hot damn. Good job. Way to plug.
So Bruce is angry that you haven't added in
Yep.
his
Yep.
trial. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
the other grumpy dungeon master, Bruce Burkhart, who is a previous guest multiple times, although once on accident. Yeah.
well, we'll add it to the end of this one. So stay to the very end for a very special presentation from Bruce.
Hopefully I
Yeah.
will.
This episode's going to be long. I can just feel it. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because we had a guest last week, so we didn't
mhm.
have an episode for last week, a normal episode. So now we get to catch up on all the stuff that you have done in the past 2 weeks.
Have you not done anything?
Well, I didn't get to play D&D this past weekend. So
Missed it.
I yeah, well, people, it was Halloween. So I guess technically today is Halloween, but I don't know. My state's weird. Everybody went trick or treating on Saturday instead of Sunday.
That is weird.
Yep.
You go trick or treating on Halloween. You don't go trick or treating the day
I
before
ag-
Halloween.
I agree. Like when I grew up, it was everyone went trick or treating on Halloween. It didn't matter if it was on a Tuesday. That's when you went trick or treating. But nowadays, apparently, everybody goes on like a Friday or Saturday.
Like you can go out to the trunk or treats on Saturday, which is what my family did.
Oh, that's
But we
no
still went
nobody.
trick or treating tonight. We go
Yeah,
trick or treating tonight.
around here, nobody does that. They only go on a Friday or Saturday.
Weird.
I agree, absolutely. But anyway, a couple of my players have kids, so that's what they were doing when we would normally be doing D&D.
Yeah. Well, so you have nothing to talk about then at all
Oh,
whatsoever.
of course I have stuff to talk about. I just have less than you because I didn't murder an entire group of, characters on stream last night.
Uh, that was amazing.
Multiple times.
So where should I begin? Should I begin with Adventures League or should I begin with the Curse of Strahd?
Let's save Curse of Strahd for later.
Okay. So we started Adventure League back up here in Charleston at the Synergy Gamers store. So every Wednesday we're hosting Adventures League at the store, and so far we've run it for 2 weeks and we've gotten over 10 people each week. Um, we actually have multiple DMs, so we have multiple tables running like 4 to 5 people.
So for once, you're not running 10 people.
Yeah, for once. And I've actually already had a couple other people step up and say, "Hey, we'll fill in. We'll also DM for you if you need to," which is really great, really nice.
Yeah.
So if you're local to me here in Charleston, feel free to stop on by and play some Adventures League every Wednesday. Um, so the first
At
week,
Zenergy Games.
yeah. So the first week, I ran Kat Kruger's, our guest last week, her module that she wrote for Adventures League called A Stitch in Time.
Mhm.
And it's a wonderful adventure. Unfortunately, I only had 3 hours to run it, so I cut out a good portion of the end of it. But the key parts of it is basically the kind of lead up to where the end happens. So as you kind of travel through this Alice in Wonderland clockwork world, there's different like scenarios that pop up, and depending on what the players do is like whether or not they're going to be favored when the trial happens later on. So I'm sitting at a table and I took all the newer players. I have one person that's running during the Scarab game day. They were there. A couple was there. An older guy and another girl playing a Tabaxi Ranger. So the old guy, the Tabaxi Ranger, were relatively new. Of the couple, the guy he'd played D&D a lot, but the girl was absolutely brand new. Never played a single thing of D&D in her entire life.
Oh boy,
So
those are the best.
her boyfriend, I think it was her boyfriend, was rolling up her character with her, which is great. And she decided to play an elf. Okay. And without really knowing like how old elves are when they actually get to maturity, she's like, I'm 50 years old.
Oh my god, she's a baby.
So she's like a preteen elf.
Yep.
And she didn't realize that, so we just picked on her for that. But she rolled with the punches. And like I said, this is her first character that she's ever played.
Mhm.
And it happened to be a rogue. And she did every single stereotypical first time rogue
man.
player things do.
Okay,
With a
hold
white
on.
wrap-
Hold on. So stereotypical. First off, she went to whatever shop they ended up at. She tried to steal from it. She probably attempted to pickpocket other party members. And I'm willing to bet that anytime there was something that was lootable after they killed something, she would try to pilfer it without people seeing. Am I correct on all of those?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
So there was no shop that they actually showed up to.
Yeah,
But
okay.
when the first NPC showed up, she was like, I want to steal stuff from him.
Yep, there we go.
And I was like, all right, you can try.
And that's the classic DM line of "you can try."
And then later on, so like they're going through the adventure. The first part is basically there's 4 doors, and basically you're supposed to pick a door, and you get whisked away to one of the 4 places, and then you start from there.
Yeah.
I was just going to go in order. It didn't matter what door they picked. I made it kind of confusing, but it didn't matter what door they picked. So they finally picked the door, and they ended up in a forest. They're walking through the forest, or leaving the forest alone. They see the tree stumps with the ghosts. And then they're like, hey, maybe we should replace the trees and not touch the ghosts. So they start planting acorns all over the place, and trees are growing. And that was cool.
Okay, that's a little weird.
Well, that was the hint that was given by the Cheshire Cat Displacer Beast.
Okay, that makes more. All right.
Yeah. So they did what they were supposed to do there, and they moved on to the next place. And the next place was this giant mushroom forest, essentially. And the ground is like thick with oil, which really doesn't mean had anything to do with like they just made the mushroom sick. But the way to solve the problem is that one of the players had to give the lead mushroom singer their voice so they could sing for the queen at the end of the encounter and kind of vouch for them that they helped them out.
Right.
They did do that. Okay. They also discovered that there's oil leaking everywhere. And one of the players, the Tabaxi Ranger, goes, "You guys had you good luck with your performance. Break a leg." And then I stopped,
Yep.
and I had the mushroom conductor look, and I go, "Sorry, what?" She's like, break a leg before the performance, for good luck." He's like, "Oh, okay, awesome, thank you." And that was the only thing they really kind of like added in for like a type of like
It was like the rumors. The
like the rumors, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say ethic. That's not the right thing. Not the right word. I was
Yeah.
thinking of.
Cat I think called it rumors.
Yeah. So I wrote down in my notebook, and I'm laughing hysterically the entire time. Is when the mushrooms perform, had the conductor break the legs of all the mushroom people when they go on stage.
Oh, my poor stem! How'd you do that? Or why'd you do that?
So they leave that area. They get to the next area, which is like the lost lovers, the Romeo and Juliet story, and um, they're meeting the guard. The guard's accusing them of stealing the moon pies, the moon tarts, whatever they were. And they couldn't really figure out what to do. I had the Cheshire Cat show up and give them the hint, like, hey, this is kind of what's going on. Maybe you should go investigate it with the guard. And the guard's getting more upset with them, is just accosting them, saying, hey, you're thieves, and one of the players who helped the mushroom and gave him the voice got the magic smoke pipe. He blows a giant imaginary dragon and runs away. Everybody else runs away as well, except for the new rogue.
Okay.
She decides to stop, turn around, and as the Haragon is fighting back this imaginary smoke dragon, she shoots him in the back.
So she shot her own party member.
No, the Haragon was an NPC.
NPC, okay.
Yeah. Hit, like max damage on the bow, max damage on the sneak attack, the Haragon dies. And then she's like, ooh, ran over to the body. He goes, I want to loot it.
Yep.
What does it have?
Yep. Okay, there's the other one that I knew I was right on.
And I was like, it has these things on it. It has nothing else of value. And they're like, oh, well, we got to hide this body now. So they hide it in like a spike trap that they found earlier. So that's like 2 they passed and 1 they failed. Then they get to the 4th area where they got to wrangle wrought iron sheep and bring it to the shop owner.
Oh, that sounds fun.
The shepherd. A lot of animal handling checks and other let him be creative. Well, one of the players, the one that runs my OWL campaign on the Scarab game days, fumbled the animal handling check, so the wrought iron sheep nipped at her. Okay, didn't do any damage, just ow, like sheep do.
Yeah, like sheep.
So she stabbed it in the head.
Oh my god.
So then they left that area, and then they found the carousel. They fixed the carousel. They unclogged the oil. They went down deeper into the clockwork. I had a Medusa show up, running to them. They said there's like you see a what looks to be like a female woman with a snake tail lower half slithering up next to you, screaming, "Don't look at me! Don't look at me! Don't look at me!" And then all the players look at me. And I was like, all right, raise your hand if you look at her. And like 2 of them raise their hand, then they look at her. I'm like, all right, give me the con save. Oh, you failed. You failed by 5, more than 5? Oh, and you failed more than 5? All right, so both of you are petrified. And I had them then go try to deal with the boglins that are like playing in the pool of oil, because I didn't have time to kind of like go through all of the cool things that Kat wrote. They decide not to handle the boglins at all, but this basically just helped the Medusa, because the snakes are like in the oil pile with the boglins. So the rogue actually did something really, really creative. Is part of her backstory is that she has a pet mouse. So she pulled out
wait. So there's oil.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that one of them didn't just throw a torch into it?
Well, that would have killed the snakes as well.
Yeah, and?
Anyways. So
come on, man. So far, this has been the story of everything they're trying to do.
Hold on. All
right.
So she pulls out this little mouse, and so I had the snakes start chasing her around because she has a little mouse in her hand, and they eventually use that to actually get all the snakes into a sleeping bag to kind of get them unoiled a little bit. But one of the snakes does get the mouse. And the player basically asked the Medusa, hey, can I have that snake that has my mouse in his belly? I really would like to have a pet. So the Medusa gives her the snake with the mouse in the belly. So now she traded her pet mouse for now a pet snake that's eaten her pet mouse.
Sure.
And then they go, oh, look, the boglins are over there. The next our next path is that way. I had the Medusa say, hey, you just go through that door and you'll get to the central area, and they're like, "All right, screw the Boglins, we're out." And then they leave. And like one of them's like, even like, "Can we just throw a torch in the oil before we leave?"
Yeah, okay,
No,
there we go. All right.
no, okay. So then I had them go through, and there's supposed to be like a chessboard event, but I was running low on time,
Yeah.
so I just had the chess pieces come to life, put them in shackles, and then bring them before the Fey Queen. Now, when you go before the Fey Queen, you're supposed to pick a speaker. All right.
Mhm.
But for some reason, the kobold just immediately started speaking for the party.
That sounds
So,
real familiar.
so basically, they chose their speaker by the kobold just talking right from the get
Yeah,
go.
yeah. The Fae would just assume that that's who speaks for the group at that point, I would
Right.
assume.
And whenever anyone else tried to speak up, I paralyzed them.
You're not the
Um,
speaker. It's not your turn.
right. So then they had the trial. They had basically two passes and two failures. When the mushroom people came up, they basically said, "Yes, they lent us our voice, and they taught us this great tactic to basically get good luck for doing a performance." And then I had the conductor walk around with this little tiny mushroom baseball bat and just break all the legs of all the mushroom people.
Oh, you got time to
Um,
work. You got money to buy a fake mustache, but you don't have the money you owe me? Right in the knee.
so they had two favors, two fails, and then when it came to following the rules of the land, I kind of went dead even with that because some of them were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna say hello whenever I want, you know.
Yeah.
And they were told basically you should hop or skip, or jump. You shouldn't do any type of walks. And one was like, I'm just gonna do the Minister of Silly walks
Yeah.
as I
Of
walk around.
course. Yeah.
So I was like, you're still walking? Yeah, kinda. Um, so I just gave them dead even for that. So they were even. So all they had to do was pass a DC 10 persuasion check with the Fey Queen to basically, or the Archfey, to let them go, and that they would leave. Okay,
All right.
and we're running up on like 10 minutes till the store closes. After 10 attempts throughout the entire trial for the Kobold to roll better than a DC 10, he failed every single one.
All of them
Every single one.
off with their heads.
So he was like, you know what? Screw this, and attacks the Fey Queen. So now, 10 minutes before the store closes, I now have to have a team of 5 level 1 players fight a room full of chess pieces, which I'm not even including in this equation, and a CR10 Archfey.
There's no fight there. They're all just dead.
So what I did is I had her cast slow, because
Hmm.
slow them down. And then I read that she had a fear presence to her. So most of the party got locked down by the fear presence. Um, and all I did is I basically did a very weak vicious mockery with the fake or with the archfey, and just vicious mockery them one at a time. Like going around the table is like, you are the worst speaker I've ever had in my halls. Wisdom or Christmas wisdom save, yeah. All right, you failed. Here's 1d6 damage. I just rolled 1d6 and just went around the room and like just went around the table again and again. After like 2 rounds of like the 4 rounds they survived, the Tabaxi Rangers found the White Rabbit, took the keys from him, and then they were able to find a hidden door behind the Archfey and escape. So she was standing next to the door. She had it unlocked and open. All anyone else needed to do is run out. The old guy, he was able to run out of the door. The Tabaxi Ranger ran out of the door. The girl that shows up for the Owl campaign, she never broke the fear presence and was afraid of
Oh,
the Archfey the
which
entire
means she
time.
can't move past her.
She can't move at all. Yeah.
Well, fear you can't move if you're
It
frightened.
it
Yeah.
was it wasn't it wasn't that it was incapacitated.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
wholly different then.
Um and they were frightened, like incapacitated or something like that. And then like the kobold got knocked down by a really strong insult. And the other person just couldn't make it in time before they basically jumped out the door and closed it. Um, so 2 of the 5 members that I had running Cat Kruger's very nice and very friendly, very noobly friendly, very non-lethal module ended up me killing 3 people.
Of course it did. If you had been streaming this, you would have had a death counter.
So I felt horrible,
So
but
I just
they loved it. So that's really all that really matters.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love the sound of this module. I would like to play in it and maybe even run it at some point myself. Yeah, because we talked to Kat a little bit about it. It
Yeah,
seems like it's a lot of fun.
it is very cute. Like especially if you go through and do everything you need to do with the cards at the end and get random encounters and figure
Mhm.
those out. It's really cool.
So
Um,
sorry to go off on a tangent because my brain does that. You know, you said something just a minute ago that fired it off. So vicious mockery. Have you seen Dune? Are you familiar with it? Have you read the books? Any of that?
I saw the movie in the '80s with Patrick Stewart because he looks exactly the same now as he did then.
Yes, yes, he has not aged a day, and he looked like he was 50, even in the 80s. So so anyway, in Dune, uh, basically they learn to use the voice as a killing weapon.
Hmm.
So I'm just thinking that that's all it is that the bards from Dungeons and Dragons who use vicious mockery they're just it's just a crossover thing. They're actually straight out of Dune. They all know the weirding way, and they just say words that kill you. That's what she is. The Fey Queen was the Quetzat Haderach.
uh, but yeah, killing people with vicious mockery is definitely is very interesting, especially when the words hurt, and when you're at Cobalt with 8 hit points, it hurts so much.
Yeah, like it's a D6. You're mostly dead at that point. Two insults and you're just paste. You know.
um, but some of them have come out to the stream and stuff like that. Like they had a good
Yeah, yeah,
time. All but one of them came back, but I think it's because the older gentleman can't come out every week.
sure.
So they've all come back out, and I was able to take the 3 that died and continue their story because I had basically set them up as like they're going to Waterdeep for whatever reason. So the
Okay.
next module that I ran was they're actually in Waterdeep, oddly enough. So
Everything's in Waterdeep.
everything's in Waterdeep. So they go to this tavern of the Ember King, and everybody wants to get into the Ember King's tavern, and they finally get in, and there's no one in there, even though they saw 100 people walk through the door. And the Ember King's there. They do like this little skit, like you have to order food and tell them a story. And I kind of go through that whole adventure, and he basically gives them a challenge. It's like, I'm going to give you a challenge. You have to agree to it before I tell you what the challenge is, kind of thing. They all agree, and essentially is you have a conversation with the players before time, basically explaining to them what the Feywild is, what rules of the Feywild are in general. Like, be careful of making deals with Fey
Right.
because they will try to trick you out of everything. Um, so they basically get shrunk down to like Honey I Shrunk the Kids size, and they have to basically make it up from the upstairs bedroom all the way down to the fireplace below.
Okay.
Um, so they do that. They start a little adventure. Everything's going fine. They fight some rats, which was fine. They sneak into somebody else's room and touch their stuff, causing a bunch of insects to swarm and a mage to come from up downstairs and scold them for breaking and entering. Um, then they were able to slide down the railing to the kitchen. Then they were able to go from the kitchen into the fireplace room, and they were done. Literally took like an hour and 15 minutes. I blew right through it. I
Okay.
don't. I didn't run it wrong, but it was like once they realized there was a timer after they went to the mage's room, they're like, "Oh, we got to get this done," and they just beeline straight for the fireplace. They didn't explore anywhere else, and yeah, they were done so early. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I guess that's a problem with running Adventures League or just modules in general is, you've got 4 hours to kill. How I don't know. I'm just guessing, but 3 to 4 hours to kill, and maybe not every module is up to that. Like with the one that Kat wrote, it was longer, and the other one that you ran was much shorter, especially since the players decided to just sort of bulldoze through it because of the time limit.
Yeah, Cats was meant for 4 hours, but you could easily extend that to like 6.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know how you could stretch it out. Even if you go to every single room, like it still would take 2 hours tops, and it's a race. So, like,
Yeah,
there's
like
an actual time limit in the book. Give them an actual hour. So,
I, I'm a little surprised they use that for Adventures League. Then,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just random writers that they ask, and you
yeah, but
know,
it should be at least 2 hours.
no, that's this one is written for 2 hours. I think like an
Oh,
hour
it's
before
written.
submission.
Yeah, but it's written for 2 hours. It should be minimum. It takes at least 2 hours.
I think they expected you to spend a lot of time with the Ember King, with the people at the table ordering food, because every piece of item or drink that you get, you have to tell them a tale. But
Oh, okay.
not everybody's really good at doing that.
No, definitely not, and especially new players.
Yeah. So they tried their best. Um, one of the players there was playing a half Goliath warlock, and they did a really good job. But they knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
Um, the new rogue, she was like, I have no idea.
Right, because she's a new player and
Right.
probably still very uncomfortable with the situation in general. Like you're
Yeah.
hanging out in a game store with a bunch of people you don't know, playing a game you don't know. So like
Yeah.
stuff, you know, I would not be comfortable with that a lot of the time. And I'm a very experienced player at this, but
Hmm.
I would only really be comfortable in those scenarios if it's with people I'm used to playing around.
Yeah. Which is fair enough. So it was just weird how like one we barely made it through and the other
Yep.
like, oh yeah, we got 2 hours to kill, guys. The only other
And
thing I could think of doing would be to actually have them do the October Halloween candy corn Adventures League stuff. You're supposed to give them random encounters
uh-huh.
that lead to candy corn coming up. And I remember all the encounters from when I did it in Baldur's Gate, and from what I understand, nothing changed because they haven't had a chance to update that stuff.
Damn, I need to come up with a Halloween module with a candy corn golem.
Well, they had the peppermint dragon.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. They had the peppermint dragon, and I was like, I remember that stats. I could have them fight the peppermint dragon. Oh
Pepper and
yeah,
dragon. That's a Christmas thing though, man.
which I thought which I thought was weird because it seems more like a Christmas thing than it does a Halloween thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I
And that,
remember we fought it in Baldur's Gate and we just utterly destroyed it. And I was like, this one breath weapon will take out these level 2 players.
I mean, yeah, it's a dragon. Any level 1 or 2 characters are going to die to even the smallest dragon. Just one
so,
breath weapon, you're all dead.
so the other tables ran well. They're more experienced players. They're kind of like a group of friends just doing the Adventures League. So they're just
Sure.
kind of off doing their own thing right now. Um, and we're going to keep it going and hopefully get more players and more DMs and just see how it2goes.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope
Yep.
so. I went out and played Magic yesterday during the day. Buddy of mine owns a card shop. He opened up back during the summer, and I haven't been able to find time to get up there until yesterday. And while I'm up there playing Magic, one of the guys, I'd never met him, but we're hanging out, just BSing, and he got to asking if we played Dungeons and Dragons. So at that point, like, yeah, I play D&D, have my own podcast, et cetera, et cetera. So then he actually asked me if I will DM for him for pay, or if that I know anyone that will. I was like, man, if only Waples lived around here.
Well, you can always do it for pay.
No, I don't have the time nor the drive to do that. Yeah. He said they always get together on Fridays too, which is when I go out and play Magic. So
Fair enough. Yeah, Fridays is a very hard day to run anything in the store too because Magic is
yeah,
running.
Yeah, well, I think it would have been somewhere else, but either way, it wasn't. There's no way that was happening. If I run into anybody or if any of my friends that I know around here decide they want to do it, I'll let that guy know. But otherwise,
Hmm.
the idea of just getting paid to DM, I like it, but it's not going to be for every dungeon master.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how blooming of a career being a paid dungeon master is, but we've talked about how there are searches out there where you
Yeah,
can find DMs for that, and we've kind of mocked some people's
yeah, we did do that.
story. Yeah.
I mean, look, if you can do it, if people are willing to pay for it, good, good on you, good on the people willing to pay for it. I hope it works out for everybody in that scenario. Uh, 2 weeks back, I did get to run my own homebrew campaign, and I had set the players up. We had gone multiple sessions without really a single combat encounter, other than like just a random encounter type thing. So I had set them up at the beginning of a pretty heavy combat night. They were standing outside of a graveyard and they had to go to three different mausoleums, deal with the situations in each of the mausoleums, and that would get them basically the key to unlock the last one, which they then had to fight the big bad guy in the last mausoleum or at the last mausoleum to sort of cleanse the curse of that area. So the mausoleums belonged to the family of like the great 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 grand family of the current lord. They get into the first one and it's like the great great aunt. I had her, she was like this really really large undead woman who had a giant ladle and a gong. So she would take the ladle, smash the gong, and then one turn later a bunch of the crypts, like the caskets nearby, would spring open and a bunch of ghouls would climb out. So the encounter was intended to be really kind of nasty, but the one thing I hadn't really thought about or accounted for was the fact that two of my players are paladins. So they get in there and they pretty much just mopped her up on the first turn. They're sixth level, and I think they went through 140-ish, 150-ish hit points in one round of combat.
That's crazy.
It's really kind of obscene. That being said, there were also a massive, massive amount of natural 20s rolled that night. I don't know what it was. All of my players were just on fire. So when paladins with smite crit against undead, it's obscene. Uh, they the next one they had to go through it was a mage. What was he? A sorcerer, warlock, wizard, something or other. I don't actually recall at the moment. And he had an entire room full of mirrors and darkness. So he could step through the mirrors and walk, pretty much end up anywhere in the room at any point. The players could have walked through them as well, but they never needed to because they managed to find him and stunning fist him on the first round of combat. Why the fuck are undead not immune to stunning fist?
um. So my understanding is from a lore perspective, when you create an undead in Faerun D&D lore, you basically use the weave to magically weave through the body to reanimate it. Okay,
All right.
so you're basically almost like puppeting them with the weave. Okay,
Okay.
so stunning strike attacks the weave directly. Attacks the magic that makes up a person.
All right.
Okay, so that's why undead and Faerun can be stunned, is because when you're hitting them, you're not like stunning them like I punch you in the head and you get stunned. You're actually punching into the essence of the individual, and in this case, the weave, and disrupting it for a moment.
All right. So a lot of problems with that. I know you're just you're saying what you've read.
Yes.
So Biggest problems with that. One, 5th edition D&D is not Forgotten Realms. It is
Correct.
it is a generic setting. That monster manual is not Forgotten Realms. It is a generic setting. There might be certain monsters that are specific to Forgotten Realms in there, mind flayers and such, but that is not the intention. So the fact that undead and constructs, golems as well, are not immune to it, yeah, that sort of negates that. Uh, then there's the issue, and this is just old man me pulling up earlier editions. Monks in the earlier editions, for their stunning strikes, it was a nerve strike. Like
Right.
that was always the intention of that.
And in 5th edition, it's a key strike.
Yeah. Well, they
It
used
specifically says that, and I'll read it here. Stunning strike. Starting at 5th level, you can interfere with the flow of ki in an opponent's body when you hit another creature with a melee weapon attack. You can spend 1 ki point to attempt the stunning strike. Target must see a con save. Blah
like
blah
P is
blah.
not magic. P is not
But
magic.
but the key and the weave are all
Yeah. Well, and then once again,
inter
it's Forgotten Realms.
right.
So yeah, that,
But
that
I
I
mean that's how all the spells are written. All the spells are like you pull from the weave and do this. Even the bard is you magically sing and you affect the weave to cause vicious mockery.
sure. But
So
I wholly disagree with all of that. Um, and my players understand. They think it's fucking stupid too. But we are playing via the rules currently,
yeah.
so I just ran with it and let it go. He died in the first round of combat before he ever got to do anything whatsoever. Uh, yeah, they. I also told them in future in future campaigns, all undead, all constructs will absolutely be immune to stunning strike. Period. So
Yeah, if you're talking about like the stunning strike hitting a nerve and like Vulcan neck pinching them
yeah,
and taking them
basically.
down, then that's not disrupting their key. That's basically hitting the right spot and nerve pinching them down.
Yeah.
So I see both sides of the argument. I don't know why they went with interfering with key with stunning strike.
Yeah.
Um, I think
Stunning
I
strike
think
is go ahead. Go.
I think they feared that monks would be too weak without it.
Monks already do a lot of damage in general and have a lot of survivability. And I say that sort of loosely. They don't take damage so well, but there's a lot of other things that they just suck up and it doesn't really affect them. Like falling damage or as they get higher, poison disease, like they're just immunities and stuff like that. So monks are pretty good already. Um, I think stunning strike should be a thing. I absolutely do, and I don't mind it. I just think there should be a handful of things that you just cannot stunning strike. A dragon over a certain hit die level, or if it's like if it's 5 hit die levels above you, period. Doesn't matter what it is, you probably shouldn't be able to stunning strike it.
Well, luckily in Fizbans, that's what happens.
Oh, really? Well, I've not had an opportunity to see it since my local bookstores don't have a copy of it yet.
We'll be discussing it probably on our YouTube channel in more detail later. But
Yeah.
I've looked at a few monsters already, um, and I just opened up to one random guy here. No, that great worm can be stunned. There's a few of them that can't be stunned. They're usually ancient variety,
Okay.
but
Well,
that's it.
that's that should be the case.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was weird. I did see a couple of them. I think maybe it's there was one variant that couldn't be stunned. I'll find it. You keep talking.
Sure. Yeah. I just feel like certain things like that and like undead and like constructs. And honestly, a fighter who's, 10 levels higher than you as a monk, it should not even be feasible. You shouldn't be able to do it, period. If you're,
I think if you take stunning strike out of the monk's toolkit, you just roll a different class because it's useless.
yeah, I don't think it should be pulled out. I think it should still work on most things, the vast majority of things, just with a handful of things that it just doesn't make sense against, you know?
Right. I agree with that. The sentiment. I understand how annoying stunning strike is. But I think that unless it hits the vast majority of things, I don't think monks work.
So if you make it where undead and golems are not stunnable, and then we'll say elder worms, that still leaves more than 90% of the book that's stunnable.
I think their class is built around it. Like their
Uh,
class is actually like we have to we have to be able to stun things, or else we can't really be that effective.
I wholly disagree.
Because the aspect of Bahamut cannot be stunned. There's one.
Oh, okay.
Aspect of Tiamat cannot be
Yeah,
stunned.
but those are god level beings.
They're aspects.
Yeah, okay, they're god. They're not even demigods. They're what are they? Primordials. I don't remember. I don't know what they're called.
But I mean, monks just live or die by their key pool, essentially.
Yes, their key pool is very important. I just think stunning strike it shouldn't work against everything. I've said it enough times.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that we have issues with, with the game. Hopefully, a lot of those will be corrected by either the next edition or by the advanced 5e that I'm going to start using here. Whenever I start my next campaign,
Fair enough.
and I, as a DM, I am at liberty to just correct the problems I see anyway. So I could just say going forward, no undead could be stunned. Period.
Yeah.
And my players, they would still play the monk. They would still enjoy the monk, and they would just understand, oh, it's an undead. I'm going to have to find other ways to fight it.
An ancient dragon turtle can get stunned.
See, that's just stupid. An ancient dragon turtle is literally an island that you can build cities on, and you can
Well,
punch it and stun it.
we'll have to bring this up with Jeffrey.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
So
yeah.
an ancient dragon turtle is basically out in the middle of the ocean. It's an island.
Been
You
asleep
come
for
up on it.
1,000 years.
Been
Yeah.
asleep for 1,000 years. You're on it. You're harvesting like the wood off its back. It wakes up. The monk goes, "Oh crap!" and just punches down. Somehow hits. Somehow with the plus 16 con, the ancient dragon turtle fails for whatever reason. Here's my question: how fast does the ancient dragon turtle sink into the ocean, or does he just float there?
Probably keeps floating. Let's be honest. Either that or his feet are on the bottom of the ocean. One or the
Ah,
other.
I'm not waking up for this shit.
See, actually, he's been asleep for 1,000 years because a previous monk from 1,000 years ago hit him with a stunning strike, and he's just been stunned the whole time.
He's like, how did that work? I have plus 16 to my con save. How?
Legendary resistances, and it still worked. I don't know why.
I don't get it. It just went through everything. By the way, the ancient dragon turtle um
That
has
that farts and boils water.
well, the ancient dragon turtle is the first one that I noticed it on, but all the other giant, like the aspect of Tiamat and the great worms and stuff like that, they all have mythic actions built into them.
Mythic action. What the hell is that?
It came out in Theros. So basically it's like
I think you've told me that, and I just forgot. But go ahead.
it's like a second health bar.
Oh no!
It's like
Oh god,
you
we're
get
back
them
to
to
World of
0,
Warcraft.
you get them to 0, and they come right back. Okay, and then it's like, oh, now they can do these things as well.
Oh, that's okay. I get it. So you get him to a certain health, and then he just gets access to even more abilities. Actually, I kind of like that. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, so but it's Blessing of the Sea for the ancient dragon turtle. If the dragon turtle would be reduced to 0 hit points, its current hit point total resets to 350 hit points, which is near max.
That I don't like. But
And it
go ahead.
recharges its steam breath. Additionally, the dragon turtle can now use the options and the mythic actions for 1 hour. Award the party an additional 62,000 experience points for defeating the dragon turtle after its Blessing of the Sea activates. And its mythic actions are much like the legendary actions. Um, when the trait is active, it can last an hour. You can use the options below as legendary actions. A bite, where it uses 1 bite attack.
Yep.
And then Armor of Storms is lightning temporarily surrounds a dragon turtle and it gains 40 temporary hit points until the start of its next turn. Until all these temporary hit points are gone, any creature that touches the dragon turtle or hits it with a melee attack takes 26 or 4d12 lightning damage.
Ooh, that is not chump change.
But a monk just it's done.
Done. Ah, yeah. No, I think with the mythic action or mythic actions, I would honestly just give the turtle more hit points rather than when it hits 0, then it goes to full. Just give it more hit points and
I
say
mean,
when it falls below half or below said number.
resetting or giving more is the same thing mechanically.
It is. It's just it feels bad for the players when they're like, "Oh, we just killed it. Oh no, we didn't kill it." Like
Well,
it's very that is very very video game esque.
if bloodied was still a condition, then I would agree with you. But
I thought they brought that back, or maybe that was
no,
in the advanced 5e.
probably the advanced 5e. So we got on a tangent about
I haven't even finished talking
monks.
about my yeah.
Yeah, go
God
back to your original topic.
damn stunning strike. So anyway, they killed the second one. They get to the third guy. And the third one I had a little fun with. He used to be a rogue in life, but his body, he's an undead, and basically his body was separated from his arms and legs. So
Mm-hmm.
his arms and legs could operate on their own. So effectively, the players were fighting 5 people at once. They were fighting the body, 2 arms, and 2 legs. One of the arms actually had a knife that when it could throw the knife, and whenever it struck the target, the arm could teleport to the knife, which is kind of a neat little mechanic that the players enjoyed. Uh, the legs, I think, was my favorite part, though. The warlock was standing in the very back, fighting throwing spells at the body and everything. So then the legs go over there and just start actually kicking the hell out of him. Just
That's how
yeah,
that's how the Strahd zombies work.
just the scene in my head and all of my players' head of this gnome just literally getting a mud hole stomped into him by 2 legs that are running around.
That's funny.
Yeah, my players really enjoyed those encounters. Anyway, they finished off that guy after a while, went and took their long rest outside of the graveyard because, that's what you do. You long rest after every major combat. And came back in, unlocked the last crypt. Guy comes out riding an undead wyvern. And then the paladins just went off and killed him in, I don't know, 2 rounds or something like that. Fucking paladin.
What level is the group then?
6th.
6th. Jeez.
They are 6th level, and one of them is not even a 6th level paladin. I think he's like 3 fighter, 3 paladin.
Okay. Because we were playing the Star Wars campaign and we're reaching the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
We were all level 18, I think, and we did like a final big bad encounter.
Right.
We went in there and we fought Jarek, who's this massive dark Jedi who's trying to find the Valley of the Jedi and learn unspeakable Jedi powers and become a god. Yada yada yada, like every other Sith Lord.
Right. Yep.
And he has 2 people with him. Saris, like a female that instructs, a female human that instructs like all the other Inquisitors and whatnot and trains them. And then some other guy who's like a cyborg brute.
Okay.
My character she hasn't told the party or anybody really, but she was recruited by Saris and trained by her, and was basically just a part of their army for the longest time
Mhm.
until they basically abandoned my character on some planet during some war during
Right. Yeah, you are a casualty of war.
right. So they never came back to find me, or they didn't care. So my character was just like, all right, f them. I'll just do my own thing. And so we finally get a chance to go fight them, and I'm like, okay, I bought this before I left the store. It was one of these little stupid overpowered items Star Wars has.
Yep, and there were a
The
lot
Wiki
of them.
defibrillator. which is basically haste and a syringe. It's like an adrenal booster. It gives you
Mhm.
2 extra attack actions
Oh my god.
per turn. Bonus action to use. So
So you don't
I
get the
have
you won't get the offhand attack because you use the bonus action, but you still get 2 extra
right.
attacks. So at the very minimum, you're still getting an
It
extra
lasts
attack.
it lasts for a minute.
Oh, okay. So you get so you miss the bonus action attack the first round.
Yeah. So I have this ready, and I'm ready basically just to zip in there like my character does, and just destroy Ceres, um, in like 1 round. I'm like, I am ready to go. I crit on a 15. I roll 7d12 as my sneak attack damage.
Right, which is
Um,
obscene.
I roll 3d12 for my smites, and if I crit, it all just doubles.
Right.
So
So at that point, you're 20d12.
I am ready to go. I'm gonna kill this bitch for abandoning me.
How'd that end up?
Josh with his sniper robot killed her in 1 round,
Oh,
1
goddamn it.
turn. He was like, "Okay, I'm gonna unload all this, and this for a total of 196 damage." And she died.
Ah,
So I was like, "All right, you go, Josh.
good job. Way to
Good job."
way to take that one thing I wanted.
I mean, it's not like they knew. My character never told them
Sure,
like
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna kill her. Um, but so then I ran after the cyborg guy, and the cyborg guy specifically was tailored to beat me.
Oh no.
Like he could use his reaction to add +5 to his AC. Every time you got close and made an attack on him, you took force damage back. He basically was like, if you come in and melee this guy, you will die. So his reactions alone, he had like 3 a turn somehow.
Mhm.
All right. Um, it just took me from like my full hit points to like nothing, and I just ran away.
Yeah, I will say in Star Wars it was possible to take multiple reactions because my guy could. The
Yeah.
gambler, like I had the ability to do 2 reactions in a round.
So I ran away, and then it was Jarek's turn, the real big bad.
Yeah, yep.
So he just power killed me.
I mean that's what happens, you know.
And so I'm just like dead. And I was just like, you know what? This works. I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
I deserve this, I guess.
And
Uh,
is that where Mikey came over and hit you with the defibrillator?
no, it wasn't even that. It was actually the other sniper's invisible drone bot that he has flew over and defibbed me and brought me
Okay, yeah,
back
hit
into the
you with
fight.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I hate defibrillators
Yep, yep.
so much.
I have no idea how we got onto Star Wars from that,
Well,
but
we were, I don't remember. But so then I actually went to fight. We talked about killing a guy in 1 round.
oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
So then, by the time I'm back into the fight, they kill the other guy.
of course.
Um,
Which, of course,
I
this whole combat probably took 5 hours.
It's a call for yes.
Yeah.
Um, we start fighting Jarek, who we had to basically kill a bunch of statues to lower his force field and fight him. It was a really nice encounter. So we start fighting Jarek, and I run up the second the shield drops to attack him.
Mhm.
Uh, I miss, I think, because his AC is like 24, 25. And as a reaction, he paralyzes me.
He hits you with
And
a stunning strike.
yeah, pretty much. So I'm paralyzed. He then summons like Force Storm. So you remember when Darth Vader got raised from the platform,
Mhm.
and he was like, "Padme, is Padme alive?" And Palpatine's like, "No, you killed her." Meh. And he's like, "No, I felt her." And like the room, all
No.
he screams no, and like everything like
Mhm.
shatters and breaks, and like that is the visual canonical what Force Storm is. In the book, it's much bigger than that. It actually collapses like the facility. Lightning just destroys most of the rest of the building as well too. There's just lightning coming off everywhere. It's this massive, devastating attack that levels an entire Imperial facility. Okay,
Yep.
why they didn't put that in the film, I don't know. But so take what happened in the movie, ramp it up to 11, because 11 is bigger than 10, and
But we could turn it up to 11.
he cast that centered on himself. Now he heals from electrical damage, but he takes damage. He takes damage from it, but he heals from electrical damage, which is what Force Storm is.
Yeah.
So while he's concentrating, Force Storm is going. At the start of every turn, you take 30d6 lightning damage. Okay?
Yeah, that's a
It's
lot of damage.
filled the entire room. There's like 2 squares in like the far right-hand corners where like the snipers are at and Mikey's at with his little droid, where it's like we can't get hit here. But of course their droids take double from lightning damage,
Right, yeah.
and they have disadvantage on the save. So we get through. Mikey sacrifices his droids to disrupt them a couple of times, but he's just burning through his legendary resist to keep the storm going. He's not even attacking us yet. Well, he does do a couple more powered kills on a few people, but I can't save out of the paralyzed to save my life.
Damn con saves.
Damn con saves. What happens though is I actually, because now I'm on an 18 and I have like a page and a half of abilities. One of my abilities from the rogue tree is that I can roll a d20 at the start of every day and substitute that for any roll or save to anybody within 5 feet of me.
Oh, okay.
I roll the roll to Eric, thinking that I'm going to use it to break the paralyze.
Right.
Okay. Force Storm goes off. I use my only ability that's built into my armor, like an adrenal boost, to not die. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm at 1 hit point. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to basically use that roll and save out of the paralyze. I send the roll to Eric, the GM, and it's a 4.
Huh.
He laughed at me because I don't know what this is for, but I got it. I was like, shit. And then I rolled to get out of paralyze, and I get out of paralyze.
Oh, shit.
So now I can actually use it. I can actually use my reaction. So I think Lloyd runs up with his Jedi, hits him, or somebody shoots him or something, causing him to make a really big con save, but it was like in the 23 range, which he was going to make.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to using my reaction to force this roll as his con save, and it ate up another one of his legendary resists. Mike, well, that's what we're trying to burn through all his legendary resists so we can stop Force Storm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mikey sacrifices his droids. One of them has a disruption knife, which pretty much like makes the difficulty like 60 something.
Oh,
but still, well, I still save. Haha.
yeah, legendary resist does not care.
Yeah. And I think Lloyd was the one who triggered the final one, so it actually dropped before it murdered us all. But 30d6 every round is hard to survive through.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, even at 18th level, that's nobody's gonna survive that for long. Like a barbarian would take it for a while, but otherwise, you're just not.
So, what happened after that is we one-rounded Jarek, this master dark Sith.
Yeah, but there were a lot of you guys with a fuckload of attacks.
Yeah, I don't even think it got around to my turn before he died. But it was quite crazy that we were able to do all that and kill this guy. And then like we played the game this last week and we come up across this like abandoned like space station, and Lloyd reaches out with his Jedi and senses a very evil presence there. And we're all like, yeah, we'll just pass. We don't want to fight any evil presences right now. I'm just thinking like, we just TK'd Jarek a moment ago. You have his head in your hands. You're talking to like the most evil person in this canon currently. You're talking to his dead head. I'm sure we can handle whatever's on the other side of this this stupid space station.
It's Darth Vader or some shit.
Well, I was like, even if it is Darth Vader, like it can't get much more powerful than than this guy. So let's just go and fight him. They're like, no, we're gonna skip. I'm like, all right, whatever. But yeah, so it's very interesting when you get to level 18 and just how crazy things get out of hand. It's just
Yeah. So the fact is, my players are at level 6 and already, you know, mowing through things with 150-ish hit points in no time.
it is
Something,
crazy.
I personally I love it and I hate it at the same time. I think that with 5e, they went way too heavily on the balance of the game, like
Hmm.
overly so. But at the same time, they're it's just it's one of those things where I feel like they've gone too heavily towards balance of the game, but at the same time, they're not doing enough to prevent scenarios like that.
Yeah.
Where because as a DM, I put time and effort into these awesome combats, and they went through 4 major combats, and not a single one of them lasted more than 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But I like
part of that
I like
problem
that.
is I get it. It was also sort of a perfect storm for them because they did have 2 paladins. They had multiple crits along the way, so everything did line up nicely. If it hadn't been undead, if it hadn't been paladins, those scenarios might not have played out that way.
Hmm. Yeah. Plus paladins and smite and crits are just stupid.
Yes. Yeah, I don't. I think that's one of the things where they did massively fail on the balance issues is allowing paladins to have smite on anything and everything. Like paladins just do not feel balanced. Paladins do not actually cast spells in 5e, and that is one of the things we were talking about with the advanced 5e rules. That for that Kickstarter is the fact they're actually making archetypes that are designed for paladins to cast spells,
Yeah.
which
But, but
I much prefer that.
but then again, that's what the cleric's there for.
Yeah, I don't think they should be a cleric, but I don't feel that they should be able to just smite everything and completely just murder them.
So we've hit an hour of the podcast.
Oh yeah, we have, haven't we? Crap.
We have, and we knew this would be an extra long episode. So you want me to talk about Persia
Yeah,
Strahd?
let's do Strahd now. Get this done.
All right. Hey guys, Chris here, hopping in the middle of the podcast to give you all of our announcements. Be sure to watch our live stream every Saturday at Twitch, twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters at 8 p.m. Make sure to visit our website, grumpydungeonmasters.com, and order yourself one of our gift packs of Grumpy Dungeon Master dice. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Grumpy Dungeon Masters, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Grumpy DMs on Twitter. Be sure to check out our new buddies, Fade Awakens, on YouTube at youtube.com/Fade Awakens. And also be sure to tune in every Friday at 4 p.m. when they release their new live play D&D session of their homebrew campaign. As always, be sure to check out Synergy Gamers at synergy-gamers.com. Use code word Grumpy for 5% off any online order. Anything else to add, Jay?
Nope, just over here dancing on TikTok.
All right. I decided last night to run a special Halloween campaign that was a one-shot of Curse of Strahd. Essentially just taking chapter 4 and condensing it down, moving all the required items into the castle and letting the players go crazy. I read through. We did a review. We did a review of it on our YouTube channel. You can go take a look at it on there. And it was written by James Hayek and how he outlined exactly what to do. You know, put all the artifacts in Ravenloft, set it up this way, use these level ranges if you want an easy, hard, or gothic encounter.
Thick encounter.
And yeah, and then give them one magic item apiece, give them all the armor that they need. They won't need food and stuff like that. So blah. And I was like, okay, my players are pretty good. I want them to have a lot of fun. I kind of talked with them. I asked them like, what level range would you guys want to be? They said we want to be really high. They want to all be level 10. Now, 5 level 10 players inside Ravenloft they're gonna wipe the floor with everything in there,
Mhm.
including Strahd. So I had to basically tune up some of the encounters that they were in. Now, there is a 4-hour timeline to this entire adventure. And they're basically supposed to find the artifacts and fight Strahd and then win. Now, you're not supposed to be able to beat Strahd, or Strahd thinks that he's invincible until you get the Sunblade. But you can still find Strahd and kill Strahd before you find the Sunblade. You don't need it per se. But I was going to make Strahd much harder if they didn't have the Sunblade, but not impossible.
Yeah.
So they start trying to work through, and one of my players immediately goes, "We need to find Strahd's coffin and destroy it." Right out of the gate, first sentence, like out of their mouth. Now, he was playing a Dampfear monk, and the other one was playing a Dampfear rogue,
Okay.
psychic rogue, that were brothers, also previous servants of Strahd. Okay.
Right.
So I
So
gave them.
they might have information and stuff. Makes sense.
So I gave them kind of like, I would let them know when they were at an area that would, they could basically trigger some knowledge of Strahd's location. So where's the coffin? Oh, it's down in the catacombs. You know that it's down there. How do you get there? Well, you just start going down anywhere.
Yeah.
And you'll find it. So they start working their way down to the catacombs. They pass by the very first encounters, like when they open the door, there's 4 red drake wormlings, or red dragon wormlings, in this small like little corridor, and they hiss at you as you walk in. One thing I decided to do for this entire thing to keep it fast and moving is everyone rolled initiative at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
And that was initiative for the entire night. So anyone who wanted to react, I would bump initiative down to that person, or basically say, no, you can't act yet. The next person up in initiative is X person. So this is the first thing that pops up. A red dragon hisses at you, and the player that goes is like, oh yeah, I'm going to hit it. Now these dragons aren't hostile unless you attack them.
Oh, of course.
So he hits the dragon, initiating the combat, and I just start the combat. And
This sounds like some Icewind Dale mind flayers.
so they're just getting wrecked by these dragons, but they eventually start winning. But they're spending too much time in the courtyard. And so the weather starts acting up, the mist starts closing in on them, and the lightning strike happens and hits everyone in the courtyard. It's a dexterity save. It's save or fail.
Yep.
The DC was like, I think 13 or 15, and it was like 10d10 damage.
Ooh.
Like,
I mean, at 10th level, that's still a lot.
yeah. My wife failed. After being breathed on by 3 drakes, she took the lightning strike for 70 damage and died immediately.
And you haven't even gotten 20 minutes in or through the front door.
Now, I had set up that the first death was going to be okay, let's explain the death rules. Okay? Yep. No negative penalty for the first one. Here are the death rules. And the death rules were, you can stand back up, you can spend as much hit die as you want, like a short rest. But you lose 1 level from here on out. And in D&D Beyond, it's pretty easy to de-level your characters. You just go into the character sheet and select the level down, and you're done.
Yeah, it's a little harder in person.
No, I wouldn't have done it in person. It was very easy in D&D Beyond.
Sure.
So they're like, well, shit. So they start going through, and they're working their way through that room. They beat all the drakes. They get to the next room where there's 8 gargoyles, and no one shoots a gargoyle, so the gargoyles didn't attack them.
Oh, that was good.
They find Strahd in the dining hall room, and according to the initiative order, it was one of the warlock. The warlock was up, so he just started launching Eldritch Blast at Strahd.
I hope it's the scene from Empire Strikes Back where Strahd just holds up his hand and starts deflecting, Eldritch blasts.
Better than that, it's actually an illusion. So he just destroys the pipe organ behind Strahd.
Okay.
They work their way from that room down further. They find a wine barrel room. They find a room called the Room of Bone, or the Bone Room. They work their way down even further. Eventually find like this brazier that will teleport them anywhere.
All right.
hold on. Before they got to that room, they had to fight a room full of Strahd zombies, and I added a Beholder zombie in there just for fun.
Just for
That's
fun.
that's where Death 2 occurred, where one person got disintegrated.
Hey, you fight beholders, man. You run that risk.
I just figured Strahd would have a zombie Beholder, so I threw it in. And the level 10s, I didn't think it maybe have any difficulty. And you know what? They didn't have any difficulty because guess what? The monk stunned the Beholder zombie, and
Yeah,
everyone just JoJo'd that zombie as it fell to the ground.
yep. Other than the one poor son of a bitch who failed the con save.
I felt so bad for Jonathan of Tabletop Studios because he died
Yeah.
like 4 times throughout the night. It was
Wow. You start off at level 10, you end at level 6.
so they kill that room full of zombies and they go into the brazier room where there's like 7 gems, and you take a gem and you throw it into the fire and you'll be teleported to wherever that gem says it would go. Well, it just so happened that the initiative order was ended with the warlock, so my wife was up first, so she had like the first action to do in the room, like what anybody wanted.
Yeah.
She basically heard them read off that, oh, throw the red gem in if you want to go into the study, and she basically walked up, grabbed the red gem, and threw it into the fire, and teleported them up to the study. They're trying to get down. They've been fighting their way through Strahd's castle through 2 levels of dungeon to get to his coffin, and she brings them up to the 3rd floor.
Good work. Way to
Now,
make them work even harder.
the backstory to my wife's character is, and this is actually
And I know sort of this just from having watched parts of the stream.
She is a reborn version of her character from Icewind Dale that died. Her first character, a knowledge domain cleric. She doesn't really remember much what happened. She just remembers that she had a lot of really good friends and that they left her to die. And for some reason, her spiritual weapon and her spirit guardians are all Grell.
Okay.
Because it's a Grell that killed her in Icewind Dale.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So,
but being a knowledge cleric, she's gonna want to.
So she basically goes right up to the studio, and I'm like, okay, I explain what the room is, read it off, and your passive perception of 22, and your passive investigation of like 23, and your passive insight of like 18 lets you know that this room is an ancient study full of ancient exotic knowledge, valuing well over 100,000 gold. And she's like, okay, I'm not leaving.
Bye, guys.
So she starts walking around the room, going bookshelf to bookshelf, basically making investigation checks to find cool books. And I'm reading off what the books are. While the party continues on further, there's an unturned vampire bride that one of the vampire brothers runs over and murders immediately.
Yeah, I saw this. This was
and then
stream.
ate her. And then another one falls into a blood trap.
Yep.
And basically is like swimming in this like weird existential blood ocean, trying to get out. Then the other guy gets possessed by the ghost of the girl that he just killed, and he gets flung off Castle Ravenloft.
That was the most epic thing that I saw on that was the fact that they go in there and they start questioning the vampire girl or vampire bride or whatever it is, and then he didn't like the answer they got from her, so he goes and murders her. So within a few rounds, she pops back up as a ghost. He fails the possession roll, gets thrown out of a window by her, who's possessing him, and then throws him in a bottomless pit.
Yep.
Like that's it. It was so deserving. You got what you deserved. I love the player for having done that because that just played out epically.
And that idea actually comes from a different room in Ravenloft that I couldn't do. It wouldn't make sense. But essentially, there's a ghost that when you go into the crypt and you open up his crypt, the ghost comes out and possesses that person or whoever they can possess.
Sure.
It's some guy from one of the villages who believes he discovered the power of flight.
Oh,
so
okay.
The ghost possesses you and then runs you up to the main tower, up all the spires to the top of the spire, and leaps off of that, screaming, I can fly! I can fly! So I was like, I knew I couldn't run that, but I was like, if the chance comes up that I'm gonna have a ghost, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the fact that the ghost got revenge on her murderer within like 4 rounds was awesome.
So my wife is running around the studio just like, collecting books, and everyone else is just kind of like, I guess. Then they happen to find or they just find the door. I think I mislabeled it as a normal door, but it should have been a secret door. But hey, I had to stat everything and build everything in like 2 days, so I
Yep.
made a couple mistakes.
I've done it before too, so
Um, so they basically find their way back down to the brazier room, use the stone to teleport to Strahd's actual coffin, and they punch it like 2 or 3 times, and nothing. They can't break it. The brides of Strahd come out of the ground and start attacking him. One of the guy gets teleported to the other tomb, Strahd's brother, and he's lawful good, so he gets this awesome like plate mail armor now. He pulls a lever, starts walking out. Now he's in the crypt proper. And I basically said one side of the room is going to be um, ghoul minions, so one hit kill, just to make it quick. There's like
sure.
because that whole area is this big elaborate thing, and I was like, I
Problem is
can't do that.
ghouls have paralyzed.
Well, I expected there to be 5 people there and doing multiple
Yeah,
attacks.
but
All you need is
they all failed the first rule of don't split the party.
well, he got teleported there, so
Split the party, doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. Party was split.
um, so he gets surrounded by 12 ghouls and eventually goes down and gets killed by all the ghouls.
Yeah.
Um, the other party eventually killed the zombie brides, and they worked their way out. And there is basically just put a bunch of swarm of bats, and if they walked through the swarm, they took damage. Um, about this time, like we had burned through the entire 4 hours. We were close to the end of the night. They had yet to go find the Strahd's enemy or any of the special items.
Oh my god.
So I knew the Strahd fight was going to be very difficult for them. Now, I had given them all the advantage that they could. I gave the brothers all the extra knowledge that I could. Um, I feel in retrospect I should have probably given them more because the ultimate downside that I gave them from being already being minions of Strahd is because these brothers are psychically linked to each other. Any charming effects affect them both because they're already minions of Strahd and they're psychically linked.
I mean, as long as you tell them up front and they're good with it, yeah.
Well, I didn't tell them up front. I just said I will take. They gave me their backstory. I said there will be positives and negatives to this.
Okay. That tells them. You don't have to tell them all the effects, but just tell them, hey, you get some benefits, but you get some bad sides too.
So the charm would hit them both at the same time, and I gave them disadvantage on it.
I mean, yeah, I get it.
They both fail. Sorry. So
One of them failed. And,
so eventually they work their way up. They find their way to the cathedral. They find the Strahd's enemy, who explains to them that they need to find the 3 artifacts in 10 minutes to defeat Strahd. And turns out that 2 of them were in the bone room and the wine room that they passed and said, "Hey, let's not go
yeah,
in there at all." And I don't remember what the third one was. It was somewhere in the third
somewhere
floor.
they didn't find it.
It didn't even come close. So they, the one that killed the previous bride, the unturned bride, kills Irene immediately. Just kills her, drains her blood, eats her. And they're like, "Whatever, we're gonna fight Strahd here." So Strahd shows up. Rolls super high initiative, but doesn't beat the other vampire. Lair effects come through. Strahd comes walking out of the wall and um, starts talking to all of them on his turn. And uses a couple things against them, like my wife.
Yeah.
You should join me. I'll let you hang out at my study. I'll give you the books that you've taken. And then I had the 2 brothers roll for um, resisting Strahd's charm. I even tell them that my wife, with her passive 22 perception, when Strahd was looking at her, talking to her, Then when he turned and looked at them, his eyes flashed for a moment.
Mm.
I had them roll this in secret on Facebook.
Yeah.
They both failed. I set the DC to 18, and they rolled a 17 and a 13. So their turns came up. Strahd is talking to them. And he's like, you wish to be released from this. Do you want to be released from everything? And he was like, yeah, I do. So he's like, Strahd's like, come over here. Show me your throat. And then Strahd bites him, ripping out his throat, killing him instantly. Something that I discussed I was going to do with Strahd because they were all level 10s. I was going to
Right.
basically have his bite be a power word kill. And since they were charmed, and it basically says in there is like, when you're charmed, you let Strahd bite you. And then my wife's turn came up, and Strahd turned to her and was like, if you want, you can join me, and I will give you access to all the knowledge that I have, my library and my study, the ancient tomes, and we can also search out other knowledge that's out there. And then she, now being a neutral evil character, goes, all right, sure.
Yeah. I mean, he offered her exactly what she wanted.
And so I was
She,
like, yeah, expose your throat. She exposed her throat. He bit her, and then he set her down gently, and he'll bury her later to make her a vampire spawn. The paladin, the dwarf paladin, and the warlock start fighting Strahd.
not
Nothing,
much. Yeah, I mean, two people against him. Even if you are a
and,
paladin, that's still going to go bad.
and then it comes back up to the other brother's turn, and he's like, you said that you wanted to escape, but I'll give you an opportunity to serve me once again, and we can move forward. And he's like, I will serve you again. So I bit that guy and basically took him out too. And now it was just Strahd and two people. And I had yet to burn any legendary
Right? Yeah, yeah.
resistances,
Nothing.
nothing.
He
So
just he charisma'd the shit out of him.
um, it was very interesting. So like the warlock basically irradiated himself. I love the war. The warlock was playing. He was playing Tony Nelson.
Tony Nelson. All right. Being that he is in what is it, Barovia? I think is
Yes.
where. Yeah. I mean, basically, he walked through the veil, and he
No,
probably
no,
no, he walked through the veil, but probably came from Brooklyn.
no,
Like
no, no. He was in an experimental spelljammer ship that fell into the ocean and washed up on a deserted island where he found a genie bottle, thus his genie bottle patron.
okay, but he ended up on the spell jamming ship from Brooklyn.
It's I Dream of Genie.
Oh, okay.
That's the story. That's the story to I Dream of Genie. That's exactly what happens. Is the guy
Yeah,
goes up.
yeah. God, I didn't catch it until you said it, but yes, it was.
I, I was even doing the
Oh my, yeah.
on the stream.
Yeah, that's God. I hate this person and love them at the same time.
The previous one shot, Dimitri, the player who played Tony Nelson, played a JoJo character where he basically went with a monk that could make the astral like fists. And so he basically had like the astral fist pop up as his stand and start doing all the punching while he just stands there and poses.
Yep. And this is exactly how games turn into Monty Python. Exactly like that.
um, so yeah, so he basically irradiates himself and tries to fight Strahd, but he knows there's no way of doing it, and eventually he fails, and Strahd bites him and turns him.
Sure.
He polymorphs the dwarf, and I intended the polymorph to be permanent so I could just end the session.
Uh,
But he was like, "No, as a bat, I'm gonna attack Strahd."
oh,
So he
he
like,
turned him
so
into a
like
bat.
he went into the radiation array and fell out of the polymorph. Then he was running to find the sunblade, not knowing where it was.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Strahd just kind of flew up to the platform, and he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna use challenging duel." Which basically says like you have to fight him or you have disadvantage fighting anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and Strahd let the spell take effect, and he basically just sword fought him to death and gave him an honorable death.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny we sit here and talk about Strahd because that's what I've done today on Halloween is just sit here and watch the first season of Castlevania again.
yeah. It was really a lot of fun. I'm glad I glad this is the one time I get to like no holes bars, kind of like almost unfair DM, but
What
still fair.
one shots are great about that. You know, one shots, especially one where they can come back. Yeah,
Yeah.
at that point you can just go no holds barred. You know, you obviously want to make it winnable, but you don't have to make it easy by any means.
I mean, if they didn't get charmed, and if my wife just decided not to just like abandon the party, they
Yeah.
could have beaten Strahd. Um, Essentially, there's a heart artifact in Ravenloft that absorbs most of the damage from Strahd.
Mhm.
Um, and I basically the difficulty that I added to it, being that they're all level 10, is that all the damage would go to that heart, and I double the stats on the heart. So normally it just gives them a 50 hit point buffer.
Right.
I gave it a 100 hit point buffer. Um, but if they had the Sunblade, that shield was not in effect from the Sunblade while he was in sunlight.
Yep.
Okay, basically eliminating that free temporary hit points that he would get.
Yeah.
And then since he's in the sun with the Sunblade, pretty much he only has 144 hit points. He's going to go down in 2 rounds. So even if they didn't get to him, he'd essentially really only have 244 hit points, which they
Yeah.
could do in a couple rounds.
Yeah, I mean, at 10th level, that's absolutely doable, especially with a paladin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Stunning Strike. If Stunning
Yep.
Strike would have hit and landed, uh, and one guy was doing psychic damage, Strahd has nothing for that. The other guys are doing radiant damage, which guess what is a weakness for vampires.
Yeah. That's like one of the very few things in the game that has a vulnerability.
So, and, overall they did real well. I was kind of sad that they didn't actually get a fight Strahd, and Strahd just kind of showed up and ate them.
Mhm.
But I hope they let me do it again because I really want to do it again next year. I already have some ideas on how to improve it for next year
Yeah.
because they didn't know anything about the artifacts. They didn't know anything about the favorite enemy. Um, my plan would be for next year would basically say, hey, on the way there, Van Richten's like, hey, there's, we have someone inside Ravenloft right now. You have to find them. They're in X room. Find them first. And then from there, they'll get told about the other artifacts and they can go find those artifacts.
Yeah.
I think if I make that change, the mistake of let's go kill his coffin
Yeah,
won't,
you actually give them the information they need up
yeah,
front so that they don't kind of go in blind.
right. I didn't mind that they went in blind this time because they had to go into the cathedral, which is pretty much you walk through the front door, walk into the lobby, walk down a hallway, and then there's the cathedral where the favorite enemy, the enemy of Strahd was. So I was
Yep.
like, it's right. It's like right across where they start. Of course they'll go into that room, and that's the
Nope.
DM fallacy right there. Of course the players are smart enough to do
Yeah,
this.
that rarely ever works out as intended.
They're not going to immediately go down into the crypt to fight the coffin. That's just silly,
Who would do a thing like that? Oh, they would.
you know. But I mean, the brothers would know that that knowledge would work. That Strahd, ultimately without his coffin can't resurrect.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it
yeah,
sounds like it went pretty well overall.
it
Uh,
went really well. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of participation at the end of the stream, which I was eternally grateful for.
yeah, stream did
Um,
real well.
I got a lot of views. So if you're not watching the stream every Saturday at 8, on twitch.tv/Grumpy Dungeon Masters, please come out and watch.
8 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the OWL campaign, and we're kind of wrapping all that up. I have yet to decide what I'm going to do next after the OWL campaign, but I'm running a book. I'm running one of the books.
Okay.
Um,
Just have to figure out which one. There's a good number of them to choose from.
yeah, I kind of want to run Strahd. You know,
It would
I,
be
I got a
interesting.
I got a taste, but I know as a DM that I would need a lot more atmosphere to make it
Mhm.
work. I think Strahd is all about atmosphere.
You're not
And
wrong. It really is.
yeah, and I'm not that good at it. I'm very good at getting a map the way I want it for the players to see it, but I'm not really that good at building atmosphere. Um, so I just don't think it's the right one for me. Whereas Baldur's Gate, the Descent into Avernus, is pretty much just like, hey, let's go to hell while we start playing the Doom soundtrack and see what happens. Which really works for my style. So I'm thinking that one maybe,
You have
or if they come,
options.
or if they come up with a really cool one between now and then,
I mean,
I'll
hell, there,
probably do that.
you could even start looking on DM's Guild for ones that aren't published, hardback published.
Yeah, there are a couple
Yeah,
good options on there too.
yeah. There's a ton of good options out there.
But see, the thing is too, is my party went to Tomb of Annihilation, and they killed Volo, and Volo was sent to hell.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right. You did tell me about this.
they do need to go to Avernus and save Volo. So I could definitely work that in as well too.
God, you have a bunch of murder hobos.
I love my party; they're great.
All right,
I make it.
I think that's enough.
Yep, extra long episode, and we're done.
Ah, Craig, sing us out, Bruce.
I'm southbound and down. All my rolls are crits. It's time for me to hit the bricks.